Good morning, students. In last class, already we have started to study tools used in recombinant DNA technology. Okay, already we have completed three important tools used in recombinant DNA technology, that is enzymes. Even you have studied about the vectors, and in last class in detail you have studied about the host cell. Okay, here the host cell is required to carry out the recombinant DNA technology. For what purpose? Means whatever the recombinant DNA is produced by inserting the desired gene into the vector, the recombinant DNA is produced, and that recombinant DNA have to insert into the host cell. For what purpose? Means just to increase the number of the desired gene, just to multiply the desired gene. For that purpose we are inserting the recombinant DNA into the host cell, and that host cell you have to culture into the synthetic medium where the bacteria can be reproduced, and it can be produced the large number of the transformed bacterial cell. Along with that, the multiple copies of the desired gene is also be possible to get. Okay, for that purpose here host cell is also be required. Therefore we have considered that it is one of the important tool to carry out the recombinant DNA technology. Okay, in today's class we'll move to the next one requirement to carry out the recombinant DNA technology is bioreactors. Next one tool required to carry out the recombinant DNA technology is bioreactors. Okay, then what are these bioreactors? What is the structure of the bioreactor, and what the bioreactor can be play its role? Okay, here in biotechnology we have used so many tools. In biotechnology we are using the certain materials to produce the desired product. Here we are using the so many tools like enzymes we have used here, vectors are there, host cell is there. Here you have to insert the recombinant DNA into the host cell, what I told, and that host cell you have to culture. In the laboratory also, in the synthetic medium, in a petri dish, even in that petri dish also it is possible to culture the transformed bacterial cell, and that transformed bacterial cell in the synthetic medium in a laboratory in vitro condition, it can be multiply itself. By that it is possible to get the multiple copies of the desired gene. Okay, for what purpose we are culturing the bacteria? Just to get the desired product, and that desired product is totally benefited to mankind. Like this, in biotechnology, what all the products and services are produced here, these are totally benefited to mankind, what I told here. In the same way, here bioreactors we are using for what purpose? Means just to get the desired product in large scale. For what purpose the bioreactor is required? Here in bioreactor it is possible to culture the transformed bacterial cell, and these transformed bacterial cell can be undergo the repeated multiplication. By that it is possible to get the desired copies, and these desired copies are capable to produce the desired product in large scale. Getting my point? This is the bioreactor structure. Okay, here these bioreactors are nothing but these are the vessels in which raw materials are biologically converted into specific products or enzymes, etc., using microbial, plant, animal, or human cells. What I told here, bioreactors are nothing but these are the large stainless steel vessels. Bioreactors are nothing but these are the large stainless steel vessels or tanks having a volume of 100 to 1000 liters. Okay, these are the large stainless. In the diagram it is there. Just you can see how much big stainless steel vessels are there. Okay, in these we can culture the whatever the type of these cells, either it is a microbial cells, plant cell, or human cells. transformed cells we are culturing here, and these transformed cells are capable to produce the desired product, and here that product can be get here in this stainless steel vessel or in the bioreactor in large quantity. Getting my point? Therefore, these are the vessels in which raw materials are biologically converted into specific products. Raw materials, the mixture can be added here, added in the particular stainless steel vessel, and the particular cells can be undergo the repeated multiplication. By that, the desired product it is able to produce, and that desired product we can get here in large scale. And second point, bioreactors are used to produce large quantities of products. They can process 100 to 1000 liters of culture. Just you can see what I told here. Bioreactor is nothing but it is a large stainless steel vessel, which is a stainless steel vessel or tank having a volume of 100 to 1000 liters. Here we can, the synthetic medium what we can add, it is of about 100 to 1000 liters. Getting my point? And this particular synthetic medium is used for biological conversion of raw materials, biomass into specific products. Understood? This is about the bioreactor. A bioreactor provides optimal growth conditions. Here the maintained temperature, maintained pH, substrate, salts, vitamin, oxygen to get desired product. In this vessel we can put the synthetic medium, and also we have to maintain the temperature of the synthetic medium. Even we have to maintain the pH of the synthetic medium. Continuously we have to blow the sterile air. Continuously we have to remove out the used medium. Understood? Like this the entire process can be carried out. For this purpose we have to make use of the bioreactor. Okay, just next you can see the most commonly used bioreactors are of stirring type. In the biotechnology or the recombinant DNA technology, most commonly used bioreactor is stirring type. It is a stirred tank bioreactor. It is a stirred tank bioreactor. Just you can see the diagram here. Even in the same diagram is there in the textbook also. Okay, the first diagram here you can see it is a simple stirred tank bioreactor, and the second diagram what you are observing here, it is a spurged stirred tank bioreactor through which sterile air bubbles are spurged. Okay, in examination if they ask, it is a very important question. Many times they ask this question for 3 marks or 5 marks. Bioreactor, with the diagram you have to explain the same structure. Understood? And usually you have to draw the first one diagram in examination. They will not ask the second diagram. Okay, commonly they used to ask the first diagram structure. Okay, this diagram structure what you have to draw here. Carefully you observe the diagram. Acid base for pH control. So see here the labelings are also be there. Acid base for pH control. Next, steam for sterilization. We have to put the steam for sterilization purpose. Even the motor is there. And next foam breaker is there. Foam breaker, through this the foam breaker anti-foaming agent what you have to add here. Next, flat bladed impeller. And next one is culture broth. Here the culture broth what it is there, continuous agitation can be takes place. By that the what mixture we have put it in the bioreactor, the proper mixing of that synthetic medium can be takes place. Continuously you have to blow the sterile air. Continuously you have to maintain the pH of this synthetic medium. Continuously you have to add the fresh synthetic medium and used synthetic medium. Continuously you have to draw out from the bioreactor. Okay, next it is usually this bioreactor what it is there, it is usually cylindrical or with a curved base. Just you can see the base of the bioreactor. It is entire bioreactor, when you see, it is a cylindrical structure. It is a large cylindrical stainless steel vessel or a tank, And when you see its base, it is also cylindrical or curved in nature. It is curved in nature, curved base to facilitate the mixing of the reactor contents. Okay, it is having the curved base through which it is very easily proper mixing of the synthetic medium can be takes place. Proper mixing of the synthetic medium can be takes place. It is because the what cylinder it is there, it is having the curved base, which it can be facilitate the proper mixing of the synthetic medium. And continuously we are blowing the oxygen. Continuously we are blowing the oxygen. Continuously we are blowing the oxygen. Here this steam for sterilization, what I told, steam for sterilization. Continuously you have to blow the air for the sterilization. For the sterilization you have to blow the air. Continuously you have to maintain the proper oxygen of the synthetic medium. And even alternatively air can be bubbled through the reactor. Understood? Okay, these all parts what you are observing here. You have to maintain the pH of the synthetic medium. Continuously steam can be blown to sterile the synthetic medium. And also you have to maintain the temperature of the synthetic medium. Continuously you have to add the fresh synthetic medium to the bioreactor, and used synthetic medium can be drawn from the bioreactor. Understood? Okay, mainly the important parts of the bioreactor. Important parts of a bioreactor when we consider, these are the important parts of the bioreactor. An agitator system, first one is agitator system, second one is an oxygen delivery system, next one a foam control system, a temperature control system, pH control system, sampling ports for periodic withdrawal of the culture. Okay, here in this diagram you can observe here the motor, and this motor is attached to the flat bladed impellers. The particular cylindrical structure what you are observing, in that flat bladed impellers are also be there. Continuously with the help of that motor, the flat bladed impellers what they are there, they can be rotate continuously. By that the proper mixing of the synthetic medium can be takes place, due to which the foam can be created. And that foam can be removed by using the anti-foaming agent. Continuously even you have to add the anti-foaming agent. By that the foam can be break and the synthetic medium can be maintained in the bioreactor. Understood? These all are the important parts of the bioreactors. An agitator system, to the motor the flat bladed impellers are attached. Continuously they can be rotated, due to which the proper mixing of the synthetic medium can be takes place. Okay, then second one is an oxygen delivery system. An oxygen delivery system is nothing but continuously you have to blow the oxygen. Proper maintenance of the oxygen level in the synthetic medium can be maintained here. In the synthetic medium oxygen level can be maintained here. Then only the microorganisms what they are cultured here, they can be undergo the repeated multiplication, and by that they can be increase their number. By that they can be multiply the number. Understood? And next one is a foam control system. The foam breaker what it is there, foam control means due to the agitation of the synthetic medium, the foam can be created in the bioreactor. And to avoid this, here the anti-foaming agents can be added. By that the synthetic medium can be maintained in the bioreactor. Okay, the next one is the temperature controlled system. Continuously you have to maintain the temperature of the synthetic medium. Okay, what the synthetic medium is there, bioreactor temperature what it is there, you have to maintain that. Understood? And next one is pH control system. pH control system is nothing but continuously even you have to check the pH of the synthetic medium. Either it is acidic or basic. The proper maintenance of the particular pH of the synthetic medium you have to maintain. If it is more acidic or if it is more basic, by adding the HCl, by adding the base NaOH, you can maintain the pH of the synthetic medium. Understood? Continuously you have to check the pH of the synthetic medium. And how to check the synthetic medium means the acid base for pH controller, what it is there it is possible to maintain the pH of the synthetic medium. If it is more acidic, then you add the base and you can be maintained that. If it is more basic, then you add the acid, by that you can maintain the pH of the synthetic medium in the bioreactor. Okay, then next, sampling ports for periodic withdrawal of the culture. Sampling ports for periodic withdrawal of the culture means continuously the microorganisms can be make use of the synthetic medium, and that used synthetic medium can be removed and fresh synthetic medium you have to add in the bioreactor. For that also the separate portion is there, separate part is there where you can add and remove the used synthetic medium. Understood? The entire process can be works here. The second diagram you can see here. Sparged stirred tank bioreactor through which sterile air bubbles are spurged. Just you can see the diagram. Increased surface area for oxygen transfer. Okay, the bubbles are produced here. Bubbles are produced here, and this is the gas entrainment. And here what the oxygen bubbles are produced here, bubbles dramatically increase the oxygen transfer area. Understood? This diagram they will not ask for the examination, only this diagram they will ask. Okay, even you have to practice the diagram. This is the fourth important tool used in recombinant DNA technology. This is the fourth important tool used in a recombinant DNA technology, that is the bioreactor. In detail about this, you will study even the steps of recombinant DNA technology, and by making use of this bioreactor, how it is possible to get the desired product, and what the product is produced directly, it is not used. Directly that product is not used, the processing of that product can be carried here, and that process is called as downstream processing. Understood? And usually the bioreactors are used for what purpose they are used means bioreactors are used for the production of primary metabolites. These bioreactors are used for the production of primary metabolites like the ethanol, acetone you can take example, butanol you can take example, lysine, glutamic acid, etc. These all are the primary metabolites. For production of these primary metabolites, we can make use of the bioreactors. And even the bioreactors are used to produce the secondary metabolites. And which are those secondary metabolites? Here, vincristine you can take example, vinblastine you can take example, reserpine, serpentine. These all are the secondary metabolites, and the production of these secondary metabolites we are making use of the bioreactors. And these bioreactors are also used for the production of human insulin. Diabetic patient, for the diabetic patients, what we are using the what we are giving the insulin tablets, insulin injections, what we are giving here, and the production of this human insulin or the humulin, even we can make use of the bioreactors where it is possible to produce the human insulin in large scale. Understood? Even it is used for production of monoclonal antibodies. For these all purpose, we are make use of the bioreactors. Understood about the bioreactors? Its the structure and what are the parts of the bioreactor, and for what purpose we are using the bioreactors. Bioreactors are nothing but these are the large stainless steel vessel or the tank whose capacity is about 100 to 1000 liters, in which it is possible to put the 100 to 1000 liters of synthetic medium. in which we can culture the large number of microorganisms or large number of cells. Understood? And there you have to maintain the proper pH. There you have to maintain the temperature of the bioreactor. Even it is you have to maintain the oxygen level. Even you have to sterile the entire part of the bioreactor, and continuously we have to add the fresh synthetic medium, and used synthetic medium continuously we have to withdraw. Understood? If you maintain these all conditions, it is possible to get the desired product in a large scale, and after that you can we can draw the desired product, and that desired product will directly not used directly, it will not come to the market. At first you have to carry out the so many stepped processing is there, and it is called as the downstream processing. Downstream processing, when you carry out the particular process, then only the desired product can be released to the market. Understood? And this bioreactor can be used to produce the primary metabolites, used to produce the primary metabolites, secondary metabolites, and even it is used to produce the human insulin in large scale. Even it is used to produce the monoclonal antibodies in large scale. For these all means we are making use of the bioreactors. Understood? Understood all of you? Bioreactor, it is very important concept. Okay, till this what you have studied, this is about the tools used in recombinant DNA technology. 4 important tools what you have studied. In that, first one is the enzyme, second one is the vector, third one is the host cell, and last one is the bioreactor. Before studying the actual process of the recombinant DNA technology, at first what you have seen here, what you have studied here, tools used in recombinant DNA technology. These are the materials required to carry out the process recombinant DNA technology. Okay, next we'll see that there are certain processes. There are certain techniques are there which we have to follow to carry out the recombinant DNA technology. Before studying the actual process of the recombinant DNA technology, even you have to study about the certain techniques which we have to follow to carry out the recombinant DNA technology. Which are those processes? One is the gel electrophoresis and another one is gene amplification or PCR. Getting my point? Before studying the actual process of the recombinant DNA technology, at first you have to study about the certain processes which are involved in recombinant DNA technology, and which are those means gel electrophoresis, and another one is gene amplification, which is also called as the PCR technique. Okay, first one, in detail you will study about the gel electrophoresis. Okay, the question arises is this, what is gel electrophoresis and for what purpose it can be used in recombinant DNA technology? In detail about the gel electrophoresis can be studied. Okay, this gel electrophoresis can be used to isolate the desired gene from the entire genome of the organism. Okay, when you see here, when you isolate the entire DNA of the organism, entire genome of the organism, here from that it is very much difficult to isolate the single gene. It is very much difficult to isolate the single gene. To isolate that single gene, at first you have to identify that single gene, identify that desired gene, where actually it can be located in the entire genome of the organism. Understood? Okay, this gel electrophoresis is nothing but it is the process to isolate the desired gene, from the entire genome. Okay, here just you can see the diagram. First you can see the diagram here. It is the gel electrophoresis. The last diagram what you are observing here, gel electrophoresis kit it is. What I told here, gel electrophoresis is the technique which it is used to separate the DNA fragments, to isolate the desired gene from the entire genome of the organism. The particular process, gel electrophoresis technique, what it is there, it is used to separate the DNA fragments. Okay, first to carry out this gel electrophoresis, what you have to do? The question can be arises here, how to carry out the gel electrophoresis. Okay, gel electrophoresis, as I told here, separation of DNA fragments based on their length. Separation of the DNA fragments based on their length in this gel electrophoresis can be carried. Okay, to carry out this process, first you have to follow the certain techniques. Okay, what is that? To separate the DNA fragments, first you require the entire DNA or entire genome of the organism. By making use of the certain techniques, you have to isolate the entire genome of the organism. You have to isolate the entire genome of the organism from one cell, either it is a plant cell, animal cell or any microorganism. From that you have to isolate the entire genome. Okay, that genome can be treated with certain restriction enzymes. First you have to isolate the genome, isolate the entire DNA of the cell, and that DNA is treated with restriction enzymes. Treated with restriction enzyme means here you have to cut the DNA into small pieces or the small fragments. Getting my point? Here large fragments, when you treat the entire genome with the restriction enzyme, the DNA fragments are produced, and what the fragments are produced here, not all the fragments are having the same length. Some of the fragments are larger in size, some of the fragments are very smaller in size. Like this, the mixture of the fragments of the DNAs are produced. Okay, the question can be arises is this, how to separate these DNA fragments? How to separate these DNA fragments to identify the desired DNA fragment in which the desired gene is located. For that purpose, it becomes necessary to separate the DNA fragments. And for this separation purpose, which technique we have followed means the same particular technique what we have followed, that is the gel electrophoresis. Understood? In detail about this gel electrophoresis, what you are studying now. Okay, first you can see the first point, purified DNA is incubated with the restriction enzyme. What I told here, first you have to isolate the entire DNA, entire genome of the cell, and then you have to treat that DNA with the restriction enzyme. As a result, DNA digests. DNA digests means the DNA molecule can be cut into small pieces or fragments. Just you can see the DNA fragments are separated by a technique called gel electrophoresis. Okay, here when you treat the DNA with the restriction enzyme can be go and cut the DNA molecule at specific recognized sites. By that, the entire DNA can be get converted into pieces, get converted into small fragments. Understood? And these fragments are not having the same length. These fragments are not having the same size. Some of the fragments are very large in size, some of the fragments are very short in size. Like this, so many different fragments are produced. There it becomes necessary to separate the DNA fragments, and this separation of the DNA fragments can be carried by using the technique that is gel electrophoresis. Okay, second point you can see here, agarose gel electrophoresis. Agarose gel electrophoresis is employed to check the progression of restriction enzyme digestion. Okay, here of course the particular process is called as the gel electrophoresis, and what type of gel we are using means agarose. Agarose gel we are using, therefore this technique is called as the agarose gel electrophoresis. Okay, agarose gel electrophoresis is nothing but the agarose can be used here. What gel we are used means agarose can be used here. It is nothing but it is one of the agarose is nothing but it is one of the polysaccharide, and this polysaccharide can be extracted from one of the seaweed called as the red algae. Getting my point? It is called as the agarose gel electrophoresis because we are using the gel, that is the agarose, and this agarose is nothing but it is one of the chemical substance, that is it is called as the polysaccharide, and this polysaccharide can be extracted from one of the seaweed called as the red algae. It is called as one of the seaweed called as the red algae. And here the DNA fragments separated and move towards the anode. Okay, the entire process, gel electrophoresis process, what it is there, mainly it can be works on the principle. The gel electrophoresis process, what it is there, it can be works on the principle that the DNA molecules are negatively charged. We know that the DNA molecule, what it is there, they are negatively charged molecules, and we know that negatively charged molecules are always move towards the anode, and positively charged molecules are always move towards the cathode. Understood? Before moving to the actual process of the gel electrophoresis, here the principle involved in that, first carefully you observe the particular picture. Okay, in a test tube we have taken the mixture, that is the DNA molecule is isolated, and that DNA molecule is treated with the restriction enzyme. When we treat the DNA with the restriction enzyme, the fragments are produced here. And what the fragments are produced here? These fragments we can put into the gel electrophoresis kit. In that kit you can see some cavities are there. These cavities are called as the wells. The second diagram you can see here, wells are there, small cubes are there. In that cubes are nothing but these are called as the wells or the cavities in which you have to add the DNA fragments. Understood? Okay, this is that diagram, and how actually you have already studied about the restriction enzyme. In detail about the restriction enzyme you have seen. Restriction enzyme can be go and cut only the DNA molecule at a specific recognized site. And what is that specific recognized sites means? Where actually the palindromic sequences are there, there only the DNA molecule can be go and cut. Here one particular sequence what we have shown is GAATTC. It is nothing but it is a palindromic sequence which is recognized by the restriction enzyme, that is the EcoR1. Recognized by the particular restriction enzyme, that is the EcoR1, which it can be go and cut this specific recognized sequence in between the G and A. Understood? Okay, this is that diagram. Restriction EcoR1, restriction enzyme EcoR1 can be cut the specific recognized site, that is the palindromic sequence GAATTC. How it can be produced, the sticky ends you can see here. And what the fragments are produced here? These fragments you have to put into the cavities of the gel electrophoresis or in the wells. Okay, here of course to separate the DNA fragments we are following the gel electrophoresis technique. Okay, this process mainly it can be works on the principle that the negatively charged molecules, when you take any chemical substance and when you dissolve that one into the water, when you dissolve that chemical substance into the water, and through that water when you pass the electric current, you can see that negatively charged molecules can be moved towards the anode, and positively charged molecules always can be moved towards the opposite direction, towards the cathode. Understood? Like this particular principle can be involved in separation of DNA fragments in this particular technique, that is the gel electrophoresis technique. Just you can see DNA is negatively charged. Just you can observe here, the first point is DNA is negatively charged, so it moves towards the anode, What I told here, negatively charged molecules are moved towards the anode and positively charged molecules are moved towards the cathode. Negatively charged molecules are moved towards the anode and positively charged molecules are moved towards the cathode, like this. Here opposite direction they can be moved. Therefore, but what the DNA molecule, what the DNA fragments are there, we know that DNA fragments are negatively charged molecules. Negatively charged molecules, therefore, when you put that one into the gel and when you pass the electric current, you can see that the negatively charged DNA molecules can be starts moving towards the anode. Understood? Therefore, this particular principle can be involved in gel electrophoresis. We know that DNA is negatively charged, so it moves towards the anode. This is the first point. And second point, DNA fragments are separated according to their size through sieving effect of agarose gel polymer from the seaweeds. Smaller sized fragments move further. Getting my point? How actually the fragments are get separated means, what the wells you have observed here in this second diagram, you can see here the wells, the cavities are there. In that the fragments also you have to put, and even in the same cavity even you have to add the agarose gel. Agarose gel. And when you pass the electric current, you can see that the gel can be starts moving on that gel electrophoresis kit. The gel can be starts moving, and the sieving movement of that gel, along with that gel the DNA molecules are also be get moving. Understood? But here the fragments are get separated. The larger fragments are remained here at the back side, and the fragments which are having the very smaller size, they can be moved fast here and they can be reach here the another end. Understood? Here the fragments can be get separated based on their length, what I told. The separation of the fragments by using the gel electrophoresis. In this gel electrophoresis, the fragments are get separated. On what basis they can be get separated means, here the negatively charged DNA fragments, it can be starts moving towards the anode. Understood? But how it can be get separated means, the fragment which is having the larger size, it can be remained here at the back side, and the fragment which is having the very smaller size, it can be move very fast and it can be reach the another end. Understood? Like this, the separation of the fragments based on their size, based on their length can be get separate. Based on their length or size, it can be get separate. Okay, then next question arises here, how to see the separated DNA fragments. Of course, by using the gel electrophoresis, it is possible to separate the DNA fragments based on their size. Now they are get separated. But how to observe the DNA fragments? DNA fragments are not at all visible to the visible light, not at all seen to our eyes in visible light. Then how to observe the particular DNA fragments or the separated DNA fragments? Here, next one process what you have to carry out, that is, the separated DNA fragments are observed only after staining with a compound called ethidium bromide. Getting point? Separated DNA fragments are visible to our eyes only when you put the stain called as the ethidium bromide and exposure to UV radiations. Okay, here one more process you have to carry out, that is the southern blotting technique. Nitrocellulose sheet you have to put here, and that sheet you have to put on the gel electrophoresis slab. Understood? And these nitrocellulose sheet, it can be withdraw that gel along with the separated DNA fragments. Understood? And later you have to remove by making use of the alkaline solution, by making use of the certain chemicals. It is possible to remove the gel, and only the DNA fragments can be attached to the separated DNA fragments are attached to the nitrocellulose sheet. And that nitrocellulose sheet you have to attach with the X-ray film. That nitrocellulose sheet you have to attach with the X-ray film. Then it is possible to observe the DNA bands, separated DNA bands. And how it is possible to see with our naked eyes means, first you have to put the particular stain that is called as ethidium bromide and exposure to the UV radiations, then only it is possible to observe the separated DNA fragments. The DNA fragments appear as bright orange colored bands. When you stain the particular DNA fragments with the ethidium bromide and when you pass the ultraviolet radiations, the DNA bands can be appeared, and how they are appeared means the DNA fragments are bright orange colored bands. Bright orange colored bands are produced here, and here these separated bands of DNA are cut out from the agarose gel and extracted from the gel piece by using a proper technique, and this step is known as elution. Even it is called as the elution process can be carried out, where we can make use of the elution process can be carried. By that the bright orange colored bands are possible to see here. The DNA fragments can be seen as bright orange colored bands when they are stained with the ethidium bromide and exposure to the ultraviolet radiations. Just you can see in this diagram, you are clearly observe. See here, ultraviolet radiations and the ethidium bromide, when you put the stain, how the separated DNA fragments are looks. They are look like a bright orange colored bands, like this they can be looks. Because DNA fragments are not seen with our visible eyes. Here you not seen to our eyes in visible light. You have to pass the ultraviolet radiations, in which it is possible to see the DNA bands. Getting my point? This is about the technique used in recombinant DNA technology, that is gel electrophoresis. Getting my point? Gel electrophoresis is nothing but it is a technique to separate the DNA fragments based on their length. Understood? This is a first technique used in recombinant DNA technology. For what purpose we are following the technique? Just to separate the DNA fragments based on their length. Understood? Okay, of course in gel electrophoresis the DNA fragments are get separated according to their length. But how to see the separated DNA fragments? For that purpose you have to make use of the particular stain ethidium bromide, and you have to pass the ultraviolet radiations, then only it is possible to see the DNA bands. It is bright orange colored bands. And to see this you have to follow the separate process, and that is called as the elution. Understood? And this is about the gel electrophoresis. In this diagram, even your first diagram, you can see largest bands you can see here at the first only, and smaller bands what they are there, smallest fragments what they are there, they can be move fast in the gel and they can be reach the another end. Like this the DNA fragments are get separated in gel electrophoresis. Getting my point? This is all about the gel electrophoresis. This is the first technique used in recombinant DNA technology. Okay, we'll move to the next another one technique. We'll move to the another one technique, that is gene amplification, which is also called as the PCR technique. Gene amplification, or it is also called as the PCR. It is also called as the PCR. What is this PCR? What is this PCR? PCR is nothing but it is a polymerase chain reaction. PCR is nothing but it is polymerase chain reaction. Polymerase chain reaction, PCR. Many times they ask this question for 3 marks or 5 marks. Entire process you may get it for 5 marks. Okay, then what is gene amplification? This PCR is also called as the gene amplification. This PCR is also called as the gene amplification. What is this gene amplification? Gene amplification is nothing but it is a process of making many copies of a gene. why the PCR is also called as the gene amplification? Why the PCR is also called as the gene amplification? Amplification is nothing but the multiplication, improving or increasing the number of the same gene. Therefore, gene amplification or PCR is nothing but it is a process of making many copies of a desired gene. Understood? And this process was achieved by using a technique called, this process, gene amplification process was achieved by following a technique called polymerase chain reaction. The multiplication of the desired gene can be carried out by following the technique called as the PCR. By following the technique called as the PCR, PCR is nothing but it is the polymerase chain reaction, and this technique was discovered by Kary Mullis. The first time the PCR technique was discovered by Kary Mullis of Cetus Corporation. Cetus Corporation, USA in 1985. Getting my point? What is PCR? PCR is nothing but it is the polymerase chain reaction. It is also called as the gene amplification. Gene amplification is nothing but getting the multiple copies of the same DNA. Therefore, how we can define the gene amplification? How we can define the PCR means it is a process of making many copies of a desired gene. It is a process of making many copies of a desired gene is called as the gene amplification or PCR. Getting my point? And this process was first time discovered by Kary Mullis of Cetus Corporation, USA in 1985. Getting my point? PCR is the same, gene amplification is also the same. Even it is also called as one more name, that is thermal cycler. It is also called as one more name, that is the thermal cycler. Why it is called as the thermal cycler then? Thermal cycler. Why it is called as the thermal cycler? Gene amplification means you understood. Why it is called as the gene amplification? Because the desired gene can be get multiplied, and here it is possible to get the many copies of the same DNA. Okay, then why it is called as the PCR, polymerase chain reaction? The same process can be occur repeatedly in cyclic form. Therefore, it is called as the polymerase chain reaction. Okay, then why it is called as this? The same process is also called as the thermal cycler. Same process is also called as the thermal cycler. Why it is called as the thermal cycler means here the entire process can be carried here by increasing the temperature of the DNA molecule. Why it is called as the thermal cycler? Because in the particular test tube, what the reaction mixture you have taken, the temperature of this reaction mixture is raised here. And when you raise the temperature of the reaction mixture, in that DNA what it is present, the double stranded DNA molecule is present, the two polynucleotide chains which are held to each other by producing the hydrogen bands. Hydrogen bond can be produced here in between the, already we have studied the detailed structure of the DNA. DNA is not a single strand, two polynucleotide chains are held with each other, and in between them the hydrogen bond is present. And when you raise the temperature of the DNA, in between these two polynucleotide chain, what the hydrogen bond is present, that hydrogen bond can be break down and both the polynucleotide chains can be get separate. Getting my point here? Getting my point? The DNA molecule is there. When you raise the temperature of the DNA molecule, what happens? In between the two strands of the DNA molecule, what the hydrogen bond is present, the hydrogen bond can be break down and both the strands of the DNA molecule can be get separate. And these separated DNA strands, both they can be act as the template. Both they can be act as the template, and we know that each template is having that capacity to get synthesize the new strand, their complementary strand. Understood? By making use of the one DNA molecule, it is possible to get the 4 DNA molecules. Okay, here just you can see here 4 DNA molecules means just you can see here one DNA molecule which is made up of the two polynucleotide chains. Both the strands can be get separated, and each strand can be act as the template, and it is capable to synthesize the complementary strand. By making use of the one DNA molecule, it is possible to get 2. From the 2 again it is possible to get 4. By the 4 it is possible to get 8. Like that it can be go on multiplying. Understood? In 2 cycles 4 molecules, and in here when you count the cycles, what number of repeated process can be followed here? In 2 cycles 4 molecules are produced. In 20 cycles there will be 10,48,576 copies are capable to get. Just you imagine when you carried out 40 number of cycles, when you carry about 100 number of cycles, how many number of the copies are capable to get, just you can imagine. Understood? And this is what we can say it as the PCR, which is also called as the gene amplification. Even it is called as the thermal cycler. Understood? It is also called as the thermal cycler. Understood? And in detail about this, in detail about the PCR or the gene amplification, about this process, to carry out this process, what are the materials are required? First you have to study about the requirements, and then we'll move to the procedure to carry out the gene amplification or the PCR, the procedure. Mainly the process of PCR can be carried out by 3 important steps, that is denaturation, annealing and extension. Like that here the 3 important steps are there, and about this in detail we will study in next class. Understood all of you? Okay, thank you. We will continue in next class.